you're probably going to have to edit this bit out, yeah. There was a loophole in India, right, to get people over easily and quickly on a student visa, and it was like people coming over, like they were coming into this country, and I'm sure they're going into other countries by the thousands. So 2008 we set up in Southall as a youth club because we realised that in Southall drugs and alcohol were absolutely prevalent, especially within the younger generation, and we saw lots of kids hanging around on the streets. Really wanted to make a difference, really wanted to help out, set up a youth club on Southall Broadway. We had 40, 50 kids coming in there, and it was amazing. It was amazing because the reason why I say it was amazing is I can say that now, 15 years later, right? Because those same kids, when I see them and they're 15 years older and they turn around to me and say, if it wasn't for your youth club and the education that we received about the dangers of drugs and alcohol, we would not be where we are today. Because my friend so-and-so is in a different place. So it was amazing. And it was all about multiculturalism. It was about diversity. It was bringing different backgrounds, faiths, non-faiths, whoever you are, bringing everyone together and sharing love. And then in 2009 we discovered homelessness in Southall. So we then went to the police, we went to the council, we went to the faith leaders, the MPs, anyone we could go to, because there were over 200 of them. Can you help these people? Everybody turned around and said, no, we can't, because there was a stigma attached that these guys they've not come over legally, they're legal immigrants, they've got drugs issues, alcohol issues, mental health issues, and that's just the tip of the iceberg on the issues that these guys had. So we then thought, someone's going to have to do something about this, because this is our home, we live here, and what kind of humans are we if we don't help them? So we took the responsibility on ourselves. So from 2009, 10, 11, 12, every single day we're in Southall, parked up with a van, giving out fresh clothing, offering showers, signposting to immigration, signposting for food, drugs, alcohol help, whatever they needed, we tried and made sure we could help them. And then in 2012, something happened in Southall where the authorities all got together. They thought, this is getting, Southall's becoming fashionable to be homeless here now, because there's so much support available and there's so much drugs available, and everyone's flocking to Southall for it, and the food is free from the local Sikh temples. And so the authorities come together, they did a big swoop, they just picked everyone up in one go, because it's easy to find them and easy to identify them. And they did actually help. They pushed people through the doors that they needed to go through. Immigration door, repatriation door, health, mental health, drugs, alcohol, whatever it was, benefits. And they, before I knew it, I was pretty much felt redundant in 2012 and thought, what do we do now? And then we decided that we had built up such a resource looking after homeless people. We took that resource. It was a question of, do I ring British Airways and GSK and say, we no longer require the blankets you're giving us, we don't require the Lucozade you're giving us, or do we say, we're expanding our project now and taking it into central London, which we did. We took it into London 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, then we took it into King's Cross, Camden, expanded London, Shoreditch, then we went to Birmingham, then we went to Lancaster, then we went down south to Brighton. So this is how the operations expanded for us. And then we added a few other branches onto the services that we provide. So we've got the Nishkam Healthcare. We provide healthcare for the homeless. A bunch of volunteers, again, in an ambulance go alongside with the food. And if they've got any issues with their health, they can go for food, and then they can come and see the healthcare team, where we've got doctors, nurses, dentists. We've taken people to A&E in the ambulance. We've treated open wounds. We've taken blood sugars, checked heart rates, even taken teeth out to prevent heart attacks. So it's a real valuable service. So I remember growing up when I was younger, it was absolutely unheard of. Even in 2009, when somebody said to me, there's a homeless person in Southall, I was like, what? No way, can't be true. Like, you don't get them. And that's what opened my eyes up. And I thought, blimey, this is serious. Because what it is, especially with the people from the subcontinent, when they come over from India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, they don't want to be, at that time, they were homeless, but they wanted to be hidden homeless because the stigma attached being from that country, from that area, the ego, the families, what they're going to think, what are other people going to think. So you couldn't tell. Some of them you could not tell they were homeless. They were well groomed. They looked after themselves. You know, if they had a few pounds, they would use those few pounds to look after themselves. And then you know, so it was a real eye opener in 2009 that there's so many like we discovered over 200, and they were hidden. It was called the Hidden Homeless Community of Southall. And then that's when we kind of like realised, you know what, there's a problem here. Because the other problem that we kind of saw, and I don't know, you're probably going to have to edit this bit out, yeah, but I don't know if you're going to ask me this question later on, but these students are coming over on visas, right? What the thing with that was that there was a loophole in India, right, to get people over easily and quickly on a student visa. And it was like people coming over, like they were coming into this country, and I'm sure they're going into other countries by the thousands. And it was a student visa which promised them for a certain amount of money, which was life savings for them and their families, would promise them accommodation, education, and a bit of a future here, which when they ended up coming here, there was no accommodation, there was no education. It just transpired to be a big scam just to get people over here. And you end up homeless. So 2008, 9, we discovered this. And ever since then, what we've seen is, I mean, personally, what I've seen in Southall is I've seen the figures going up and down. So when they did the big swoop in 2012 and they took loads of people off the street, there was hardly any homeless people on the street. Right? That's when we moved into London, started working in London. And then probably about 5-6 years later, we revisited Southall and we looked, and actually, you know what, there's more homeless people now. The official homeless count at the moment for Southall, I spoke to an agency just last week, is they reckon it's about 70. But I don't know how true those figures are. Do you know, being brought up and living in Southall, especially around the Sikh community and other communities as well, literally being wrapped up in cotton wool and thinking, through my lens, the world is perfect, and then discovering what people have to do to survive, it was so shocking to me. I mean, you know, you can understand that to survive, a girl might turn to prostitution, right? But when a guy has to then turn to prostitution with other guys, and he's not even that way inclined, and that is for survival. And it wasn't uncommon. This is something that's not uncommon. This was quite common, but it was about survival. And when I learnt of this, I was shocked to my core, because there were dirty old men that were specially coming from all around the UK to Southall for this service to take advantage of these poor, vulnerable people. So you've got somebody who is here illegally. They've got no recourse to any public funding, right? They can't legally go and, even if they're working cash in hand, they're not allowed to. Even if they've got money in their pocket, they can't go and then go to a landlord and say, I'm going to pay you for sleeping. So the government have made it so difficult for somebody to survive as an illegal immigrant in this country. It's pretty much, what they've done is they've shaped the process that you stay in the gutter. You're here, we're going to keep you in the gutter, right? And then it sounds like once you're in the gutter, right, we want to kill you off. And it sounds really extreme, but if you're on the street and you sit with these people and you listen to what they're going through, because the thing is, you think about it, yeah? You've got no light at the end of the tunnel. There's nothing there. You're just a sitting duck waiting to die, basically. you're hanging around in the Sikh temple and they'll only allow you in there for food. There's a little bit of warmth in there for a certain amount of time, depending on how hygienically clean you are. The other place that you can go to is the betting shops, right? And even then, you end up becoming a gambler, because I've seen it. A couple of pounds in your pocket, put it in, win some money, wow. Do it again, do it again, do it. Within a few weeks, you're doing it on the regs. So, long-term solution is that, firstly, I think the government needs to develop a policy where they need a paper which says that every person on UK soil is actually a human, right? Once they recognise that someone's a human, that person needs to be entitled to something. Like, how do you allow someone to sleep in the gutter, right? So it should be, you've got these no nights out policies for people who are entitled to benefits. It should be the same. They talk about, our kids are now, what are our kids being taught at school? About he, she, him and her and this and that, and I don't even know what else it is. But at such a young age, they're being drummed, there's information being drummed into their heads, which majority of people are not happy about. But we've got no choice about it. If you're busy brainwashing kids, why can't you spend a bit of time looking after your homeless people that have come from different countries? I mean, I don't get it. It just doesn't make sense to me. So long-term policy is they need to recognise people as humans. They need to put in measures where people, if you're homeless and you're an illegal immigrant, there's got to be some policy that sits around you, and there has to be some kind of real valid assessment as to, okay, so he's homeless and he has been assessed and he's not entitled to this. Okay, so if he's not entitled to any benefits, are we going to leave him in the street? We need to do something with this guy. Okay, if you can't send him back because of his own safety and he's proved it, then give him asylum. So I think they need to, I think this is probably the most bottom part of their list, or least important thing for them, because the most important is making money, but these are costing them money. Okay, so like I said, 2009, to 2012, numerous cases, numerous people, lots and lots of them, the same situations. They've come over, they've seen in the village next door or in the same village, someone's built a big, massive mansion, and the parents are putting pressure on them. Say, you go to England, earn money, send us it back so we can build our mansion. And so they're sending people over. They're coming over illegally, and what they've realised is the streets are not paved with gold. It's not what they thought, right? They've ended up on the streets. They've ended up not being able to work. Sorry, what was it? Just run me the.
So sort of the similar cases that you've been through.
Okay, yeah.
And what the procedure is when people actually want to go home, and you
right.
sort of help them to get back
yeah.
home.
So the procedure to get home then would be that you contact. You could go to your local temple. I think every Tuesday, United Sikhs, they put on a little workshop there every Tuesday, I think it is, every morning, and you can go there, you sit down, you line up, you go in your turn, and you present your information to them. And what they do is they verify who you are, right? They then make contact with your village and your family, and then they say, we need these documents. Now, these documents have to then be processed. Sometimes if the documents are not available, which is sometimes is quite commonly they're not, because people don't really hang on to documents, especially my experience, ones that we experience. And then what you have to do is you have to go to the official office in that district in India and ask for those documents. And those documents sometimes could take 6 months to a year to get. And, I know that the people who want to go back, right, it's the last resort for them, because there's nothing here for them. They know there's nothing here for them. And to go back, I also know the Indian authorities make it so difficult for you to get back, because they're saying that you've broken the law in the first place, you've left here, right? So when you return, we're going to nick you, you're going to be arrested for breaking the law in the first place. When they're arrested, they're scared of getting put in jail, they're scared of getting tortured, they're scared of then having to pay a ransom to be released by their family. So these are all, and this is all true, all the stigma attached to going back. But when you're really desperate, people are like, I don't care, I'll have to face it when I get there. But a lot of the common questions that we had when we were dealing with people on the streets were that, can you guarantee my safety when I get back? Can you guarantee I'm not going to get arrested? And those were the things, the questions that we then took to the Indian High Commission, and we had a meeting with them, and we had a list of over 200 people saying that these people want to go back. Can you help them go back? Can you speed up them going back? Can you make sure we get their documents released quicker than they should be? Can you make sure they don't get arrested? Can you make sure they get a safe return home? And they did agree to all of that a lot of time. But the stuff that I've mentioned about people getting arrested and put in jail and getting in trouble for leaving the country in the first place, that's all true. And that was a stigma around not wanting to go back because fear of their own safety. And remember, some of them have come over as politically because they've got issues in back home. It could be a number of different political issues, and they've come here to to get away. I've actually witnessed somebody lift up their top, and he showed me iron marks that he's been burnt by the authorities and tortured because of his issues that he had. And he said, how can I go back? How can I ever go back? They're going to kill me. Yeah, it's so difficult. I mean, you need empathy for this. You need to put yourself in that position and think to yourself, what would you do? How would you want to be treated if you're here in this position today? You're cold, you're wet, you're hungry. There's no light at the end of the tunnel. A lot of them are killing themselves. A lot were killing themselves because they didn't want to go back. Yeah. So I never understood it when I first started with this work. I'm just a normal Joe Bloggs. I'm not a professional homeless. I haven't qualified. I'm not qualified in this. The only qualification I've got is my heart and my faith that teaches me, and you connect them both together, and you can then do the right thing. So, sorry, what's the question again?
Substance misuse.
That's it. So substance misuse. So a lot of the people that we were dealing with, they were either on drugs or they were heavily dependent on, and when I say drugs, I'm talking heroin, injecting, right? And then they were heavily dependent on either alcohol or both. And I always asked myself this question, and I always said it to the homeless guys as well. You're homeless. You want a drug. You went on heroin when you're homeless. Did someone tie you down and inject you and force you to take? I mean, you're in a bit of a bad situation when you're homeless. But why would you then start taking heroin and then drinking, and then you're just going down a downward spiral? And I used to ask this one guy, because I had a really good relationship with him, and he was like, oh, what can I say, Baji, what can I say? Until one day he said to me, he goes, come to where I sleep, come to my bridge, right? He goes, spend the night with me, I want you to sit with me, right? And it was a cold, freezing cold, crosswinds under the bridge. I'm talking when the frost is at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, it started to settle. I was sitting there with my colleague, and there was 40 guys under the bridge, yeah, and we were on one side of it, and the druggies were on one side, the alcoholics on one side. So it was like a bit of a community going on. And he said to me, he goes, "How are you feeling?" I said, "I'm cold." He goes, "All right." I goes, "What's the purpose of this?" He goes, "Don't worry, I just want you to chill with me. I want you to sit with me. I want you to just keep me company tonight." I goes, "What time till?" He said, "Try and stay with me till the morning." I said, "Fine. I'll do it. You want me to? We're here to help you. You want some help and support." Anyway, it got to about 10, 11 o'clock, and I was like, my hands, I couldn't feel the end of my fingers. I was like this, like freezing cold. Yeah, I had my gloves on. And then it got to about 11, 12, and my nose was cold, my feet were gone, right? So my hands and feet were completely gone, yeah? And then it got to about 1, 2-ish, and I said to him, I goes, "You know what, I've had enough now, I need to go." Because, "Is it all right if I go?" He goes, "Yeah, of course." He goes, "Go." But I just wanted to prove, I just wanted to answer your question practically. You asked me, no one forced me to take heroin, right? He goes, "Imagine being out here but you haven't got a nice, warm, hot home to go to, and you haven't got a bed to go to. How do you numb the pain? After a week, after 2 weeks, after 3 weeks, someone's going to keep saying to you, take this, you'll be all right. It will numb you, it will knock you out, it will get you through the night. He goes, that's how I started taking heroin. Not because I wanted to get a buzz, not because I wanted to have a party with it, because I needed to numb the pain to get me through the night.
It's very powerful, and it's quite sad that there's people in
Yeah.
that have to live like that.
Yeah. Do you know, I met a guy, I'll tell you another a little incident where I met this guy. I was standing on Hamlet Road outside the Gurdwara, and I saw this guy pulling his suitcase, and I knew he'd come off the coach from Birmingham. So, and I knew he's got nowhere to go because the first place he's come to is a temple. So I went over to him. I said, "Buddy, what brings you here?" And he said, "I've been made homeless from Birmingham. I've got no money, and I just need to try and get myself together here, get a job. And I've heard there's jobs in Southall." And I said to him, I goes, "Look, do me a favour, because stay in contact with me. Don't mix with these other people that are on drugs or alcohol, because that's what you're going to do if you're on the streets. Because you're an illegal immigrant, there's no help for you here, really, unless you've got some contacts. I'll try and help you, but just keep away from drugs. It's the most important thing." Anyway, let's cut a long story short. Within a month, the guy, he's street homeless, he's on heroin, he's robbing shops to support his habit. He's now drinking alcohol that he never used to in between, and he's on the verge of becoming a gambler, addicted to gambling, because he's always in the... So can you see the downward spiral of a perfectly normal guy coming to look for work, and because of the way the system is, he's ended up on the floor because the system's forced him down a hole. Not because he's wanted to. The systems... There should be something like this policy that I've talked about, to stop people. Yeah. So we do, because before, when we first started, we were completely, the whole energy and resource was completely focused on one area, Southall alone. And now we're everywhere. We can't do that anymore. And I, to be honest with you, lost touch with Southall slightly, because I thought Southall had sorted itself out, but obviously it hasn't. And so we're looking into... we are looking into maybe restructuring something in Southall a little bit more for these guys, because I think they need it now. Yeah. That's like saying, what are my thoughts on criminalising people sleeping in their own homes? That's the type of question that is.
I think you just hit the nail on the head.
Do you know what I mean? Like, what a stupid question.
Yeah.
Like you're born, every single person is born sovereign on this planet, right? You decide where you're going to sleep. You decide what you're going to eat. No one can tell you what to do. You know, obviously, there's rules and regulations. There's right and wrong. But if you want to be I've come across institutionalized rough sleepers who are not on drugs, who have not got mental health issues, who have not got alcohol issues, but they love it on the streets. They just love to be on the streets, and that's their choice. And they're happy, and they come to our service. They're all full of beans. Thanks for the food. Thank you very much. We're going back now, because we love it. And what are you supposed to say to that? So we had a bout of TB, yeah, in Southall, and they did a big, massive swoop on it as well. We had big time TB was going around. Obviously, anything that's connected with drugs and alcohol, so heart conditions, jaundice, arthritis because of the cold, open wounds, right, which is so common. And then when they fight with each other, they hurt each other, and they have broken bones. I've seen people literally walk in the streets with broken bones because they've got no, they can't even go to A&E because they've been kicked out of there the week before. So there's multiple issues that they struggle with. It's just, there's a guy, yeah, and this was under the bridge, and he took his sock off and he goes, "Oh, you look at this, yeah?" He goes, "Look at my toe, it's a bit missing off the front," right? I goes, "What happened?" He goes, "I must have been on heroin, I must have taken my shot, I was numbed, I was sleeping, and a rat come and eat the end of my toe," right? I said, do you know what, you need to be careful, yeah? And you know what the worst thing was? I saw him the day after, and he goes, look, a bit more's gone missing. How bad is that? That's real life. There's no exaggeration here. There was one guy, his leg, right, was swollen, like that, triple the size of his leg, what it should be. It was like a bark of a tree with pus coming out of it. That's how bad it was. And he couldn't even take the bandage off because it all stuck, cemented to it. And it was really bad. And I was like horrified. Like, what the hell, man? We need to get you sorted. He goes, no, leave it. I'm just waiting for him to chop it off. Because, but why do you want to get chopped off? He goes, if they chop it off, I'll get stay in this country. He was under some illusion that if they chop my leg off, I'll get citizenship here. So if we talk about Southall in particular, it's definitely improved. Yeah, 100%. Because you know what, we were dealing with 200 plus people in one night, and that wasn't all of them, and they were coming to the van in one go, and that was 100% street homeless people. So I'm not sure if we've got that many now. So I don't think we do as that many. I hope we don't. So it definitely has got better from what it used to be. But I've got a feeling it could, and you probably know this. It might get worse. See, you know, when you judge the situation. See, I'm going back to 2009, and referencing from then. Yeah, if you're saying from 2012 and it's a different story. It's getting worse from 2012. Absolutely, because in 2009, that was when full flow Indian visas were coming in, hardcore people were coming in, and then it stopped, and then the situation calmed down. But then recently, those Indian visas started coming back in, and it's got worse again. God, well, that's a hard question. It's a very difficult question. My first thing I'd say is don't lose your faith, pray, because that's the source of everything. Yeah, you've got to try and keep strong, and the only thing that's going to mentally strengthen you is the name of God, first and foremost. Eat well. You've got 12 Sikh temples that are giving free food, plus probably other communities that are doing stuff that I probably don't know about. In a mile radius, eat well, come and see us, Nishkam Swat team, and if you need blankets, socks, gloves, hats, sleeping bags, whatever you need, even food, we're there. We can signpost you. Avoid other homeless people if you can that are on the streets for a long time, because they're going to push you into bad habits. And just try and do the best for yourself. Like, think about yourself. And think about your future, and think about where you want to be in next week, next month, and focus where you need to get to. And you don't want to stay on the streets, basically. I think the community. My favourite thing about Southall is the community. When the shit hits the fan, and there's going to be a problem in Southall, when the boys come together, the community comes together, everyone's together saying, "Listen, bring it on, let's go." You don't get that anywhere. Look what happened recently, the riots, right? People are coming down, we're going to get attacked. Muslims, Hindus, Sikhs, Christians, Jews, bring it on, we're coming, come. We're ready for you, we're waiting for you. We're a strong, solid community, nothing's going to happen. And it hasn't, has it? Look what happened when the racists came in the 70s. They got dealt with, right? Then, when the looting happened, the riots happened in 2012?
2011, yeah.
Yeah, when that happened. Southall was untouchable, completely. So I think Southall's always going to be untouchable. The community is so strong here.